Hey guys, Nick here. I'm going to go ahead and just state the obvious. This is a marketing tool for my real estate business. I've been a realtor for 20 years right here in Nashville, but who wants to listen to a boring podcast about real estate? Good news, it's not. This is a podcast about people that I've built relationships with since I moved here in 1988. If what I stand for resonates with you and you're looking to buy or sell a home in this area, let's talk. No pressure, just a conversation, kind of like this podcast.
This is the 615 Podcast with your host, veteran realtor and entrepreneur, Nick Woodard.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the 615 Podcast. Today's guest is a musician, author, speaker, longtime drummer for Jason Aldean. Dang, Jim, is everybody in our circles from the Aldean camp?
It might be. You know, just we have a lot of sticking points, touch points in that camp.
Kalo, Thrash, Kurt, Tully, Chuck.
I know.
It's like the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon theory. Except for with Aldean.
Maybe someday Aldean himself.
Well, welcome to the 615 Podcast, Mr. Rich Redmond.
What's up, Nick?
What's up, buddy?
Thanks for having me, man.
It's good to finally meet you.
Dude, I'm all over caffeinated. I was like, why get a grande when you can get a vent? Is it a venti? It's a Trenti. I don't know. It's massive.
It's an $8 drink, whatever it is.
And then she was so positive. Yay!
Yay!
Yours says yum. Nice.
Actually, it says question.
Oh, yeah.
There's a question mark on the cup right there.
Yum.
Yum.
Are you done?
Maybe?
Are you done?
I forgot whose show it was.
That's right.
So everybody here has their own podcast. So we're all just going to just talk over each
If
other.
you don't have a podcast, what are you doing?
You're getting your names on the side to start with.
That's right.
All right, back to Rich. All right, man. Did a lot of research on you past couple days. I like to learn a lot about my folks, and it seems like you're a bit of a Swiss Army knife. You know, you kind of do a little bit of everything. So let's start with your music career. I know you've been playing with Aldean for 20 years or so. So you were a part of the come up.
Yeah, since 1999, Prince was, he was right there with us. 1999. So what is that? 27 years of making music.
I graduated high school.
It's crazy. Yeah. I mean, I look all right for a guy that
You look
age.
great, man.
I'm going to be 56 years old. Not bad. You know.
So what's it like touring now compared to 20 years ago?
Well, so funny. 20 years ago, we had flip phones. We had
I had the Nextel,
AOL. You've got mail.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it was a more innocent time. It really was. There was more privacy. And now the whole world is in your pocket. Everyone's a videographer and a music producer and a DJ, and the whole world is at your fingertips, and there's no privacy. So you always look back as you say, "Get off my lawn." You're like, man, that was a simpler time. It was it was. I liked it. I really
did you guys have the whole stories of, you hear it in Nashville, going to shows in a van and, everybody living in a room, and now it's okay, you're one of the biggest acts around.
Well, between 1999 and 2004, we played 1 million showcases with Aldean. We did 1 million demo sessions trying to get him signed to a record label. We would jump in a Ford Windstar or, 2 little minivans, and we'd drive to Macon, Georgia, and we'd play shows, and we'd all crash and shower in one room. And then he got signed to a deal in 2004, and that led to not a very good tour bus. And then you start to get some hits and stuff. And then it becomes a bus and a trailer, and then 2 buses and 2 trailers. And then your first semi. And then you start to add personnel, and the crowds get bigger. And it was just so incrementally slow. And what happens nowadays is the kids get there faster because you have TikTok, you have YouTube, you have a way to blast out your message, your imaging, your music to a broader audience much faster. But we were doing it the old-fashioned way, doing 7 shows a week, 2 shows on Sunday, county fairs, colleges, nightclubs, rock clubs on a Monday night. 2 shows. Did I say 2 shows on Sunday at a state fair? And what's catering today? It's elephant ears or this 85-year-old grandmother's fried chicken. You know what I mean? And so it's like we kind of lived on like protein bars and nuts, and Like I said, it was just so gradual.
I love hearing the come up stories.
We earned our stripes, man. We smelled like diesel fuel. It was a lot of blood. It was a lot of sweat. It was a lot of tears. And you look back at that, you go, man, I'm really proud. This is like, 25 years of my life that I've been doing this. I've been playing Hicktown for 25 years.
Wow. That was the first big hit, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. That whole album was fantastic.
It's a luxury to get to play these songs in front of people that pay their hard-earned money. And that's another thing, you start playing shows that are what they call the soft ticket. So it's a soft ticket if the bus pulls up and you see like 10 Porta-Johns, right? And you want to try to get to those first thing in the morning. And you try not to get blued, because they got that blue chemical in there. Yeah, seasoned and spiced in the afternoon or on day 6 of a county fair. And then in the distance, off at the stage, past the stage is the Ferris wheel. And this is like you come to this county fair and then your entertainment for tonight is a new up-and-comer named Jason Aldean. And then before you know it, you start getting some opening slots for the Flats and the McGraws and the Keith Urbans and the Brookes and Dunns, and you steal their audience, right? We always encourage our people like, Luke Bryan, you're opening up for us for 2 tours. Steal our audience. That's what's so cool about Aldean. Yeah. There's a lot of headline acts that'll say, we're going to restrict your power, your lighting. We're going to give you the edge of the stage. You literally have a foot to work with, and there's like an Edison bulb hanging, and it's like, that's your lights. You know what I mean? And then it's like, we're going to restrict your... Aldean's like full production, full staging, full volume. You do your thing. We dare you to take our audience. You know what I mean?
Well, it's like y'all's camp gets along very well. Like, you have the same fans.
Yeah.
Luke Bryan, Lee Bryce, Brantley Gilbert, like they're all the same guys that listen to everybody.
Yeah, it's that genre. It's so funny when you put on your Spotify or your Apple or whatever and the algorithm comes up and it's like, if you listen to Jason Aldean radio, then after a couple Aldean songs, all those other artists are going to come up because the algorithm is catching, they're hearing this certain little bit of a twang in the voice and they're hearing certain kick drum velocities and patterns and then it's like, this is the music it feeds you,
Yeah.
Interesting.
So we've had a few artists, songwriters, entertainers on the podcast: Chuck Wicks, Kalo, Janet Kramer, Adam Sanders. All of them had a different path to Nashville. Chuck's was obviously the easiest. He's just pretty.
Pretty and tall.
Yeah, pretty boys have it easy. So tell us about your journey here. And no hate mail on dogging on Chuck Wicks. He's a friend. He knows I love him. But he's pretty. And he probably
played a bunch of percussion on his early records, and our guitar player Jack was his band leader for a long time. So it's just this incestuous pool of relationships, relationships in Nashville. But from the long and short of it is, I'm a Connecticut kid. I'm from this little idyllic town called Milford, Connecticut. And 1976, I started playing the drums. I got drum lessons. I fell in love with it. Then when I'm 11, I moved to El Paso, Texas, and it's the birth of MTV. And I fell in love with a band called The Police. And Van Halen came out with this cool record called 1984. And I was like, this is what I'm going to do with my life. And then it became just a very slow path because there's not a great music business in Connecticut. There's not a great music business in El Paso, Texas. So my dad was like, we're going to invest you, son. You want to do this? They weren't, a lot of parents are like, you're going to be a doctor. You're going to be a lawyer. You're going to be a tradesman, $30 an hour. You'll be in the union. My parents were like, you love the drums. We're going to support you, And I made it easy on them because I practiced and I practiced and I was a straight A student and I was a yes sir, yes ma'am.
Well, I watched a lot of your videos and you're about the 10,000 hours.
All about it. Yeah. So you put the time in, then they sent me to college and in college I just played all sorts of music. So we're talking like playing in the symphony orchestra, playing in the symphonic band, playing in the marching band, playing in the steel drum ensemble, the percussion ensemble, all the stuff, you're getting that experience, with those 10,000 hours. And then it was like, where am I going to go do this thing? I know you kind of have to go to New York and LA. So I lived in Dallas for a while and I was playing in the best top 40 band in town. I was playing in the best wedding band in town. I was playing on cat food jingles, trying to save my money. And just by asking a question, I asked a friend of mine, I said, hey, do you know of anybody who's looking for a regional or national or international touring? Is there an act that tours regionally, nationally, or internationally that needs a drummer? And this friend of mine said, dude, this is girl Trisha Yearwood in Nashville. She needs a drummer. And I said, I can get you to the band leader. So the band leader heard my cassette demo. I FedExed it. And he said, Rich, I don't know who you are, but we got 15 name guys coming in. You could be the 16th guy. If you want to get yourself here, put yourself up, we'll hear you. So I was supposed to learn 5 of her songs. I learned her entire catalog, came in, new hairdo, sparkly white teeth, firm handshake. I thought I nailed it. I did a great job. They're like, kid, you sound great. But I didn't live in Nashville. You must be present to win. So I did that 2 more times. I auditioned for Tina Carter a week later. I auditioned for Barbara Mandrell a week later. This is all on my credit card, flying back and forth, Southwest Airlines, trying to do the thing. They're like, kid, you just need to move here, man. We like your drumming, so just get here. So I was like, you know what? No one knows my drumming in New York City. No one knows my drumming in Los Angeles, but I'm already getting some positive feedback in the 615.
In the 615.
So I moved from 214 area code to the 615 area code. And that was in February of 1997. And somehow after waiting tables, substitute teaching, parking cars, making copies, doing construction.
So you did all the things.
All the things.
You're the stereotypical Nashville story. You had to work your way up.
Yeah, I'm not really good with like hammers and nails. And they noticed that on the construction site. They were like, kid, here's a broom. Go get us lunch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was that guy.
Well, so I believe success always stems from mentality. So if we dropped you in Nashville today with no contracts, no gig, no money, how would you rebuild your career?
Well, would I have my wisdom of the dumbness of the 26 years ago?
Let's say you've got the wisdom now.
Okay, so
you've seen behind the curtain, you know how the game's played.
Actually, that's a dream thing, to have a young man's body.
Yeah.
And the wisdom of today. See, that can't happen. It's an impossibility. But I would have learned that, it's all about people. Yeah, you have to have a deep skill set, but it's really about, shaking those hands and having people championing you, and people want to work with people that they know, they like, and they trust. So I would just get out there and shake those hands and show up for all these opportunities and knock it out of the ballpark, and realize it's not going to happen overnight. So you might have to have a day job, and don't be in a rush. Yeah. Try not to force it.
Relationships are probably the most important thing in quote unquote making it in Nashville.
I mean, yeah, it's so interesting when I look at people in corporate America and they're just like glued to their LinkedIn. I don't think I've ever gotten a job in my industry from LinkedIn. I'm on it.
I've never got a deal from LinkedIn.
But it's like these people, man, they're always updating their resumes, and they're on LinkedIn. It's like, oh my God. But still, I think the people that are getting the jobs, even though they're using those platforms, are coming from someone that they are closely connected to in the flesh, in the real world. But what's great about the internet and social media is that you can use those platforms to connect with people, but then it's on you to bring those things into the real world. Yeah. That's just the matrix.
Right. So was there ever a point, and everybody has this story, but was there ever a point where you look back and there was a low point right before things really started clicking? Mm-hmm. Like this was, I guess, 2009 when my son was born. I didn't sell a house for 6 months. I was terrified. I started looking for other jobs. I was like, maybe this isn't going to work for me.
Yeah.
And then I just stuck it out, kept grinding it because failure was not an option. I was a new father, and it was time to put your big boy pants on and deal with it.
Yeah.
So was there ever a time that you were like, this may not work?
I never thought it wasn't going to work. I knew this was my calling. I knew it was my purpose. I knew it would happen. I just needed to get the right tastemaker to give me a shot at doing something. And most of my drum heroes, whether it be like the drummer with John Mellencamp, or the drummer with Elton John, or the drummer with Billy Joel, those are people that have had long-standing positions. So like 25 years, 30 years, 50 years with these artists. A drummer by himself, not very impressive. It's not very fun. Drum solos occasionally are a fun thing, but you want to be able to play songs. And as a drummer, you're only as good as the person that is standing out in front of you, singing those hits and those melodies and telling those stories. So I just needed to find my Sting. I needed to find my Elton John, and I wasn't going to stop till I did that. And so maybe the first couple of years in Nashville, the first maybe 700 something days, those first 2 years when I'm working those day jobs, and I'm going to substitute teach K through 3, and
Where did you substitute?
I substitute taught everywhere. Yeah. And back then it was this like computerized system where you would get this phone call on your landline at night. It would be like this computerized voice. It'd be like, hello, there is a job opportunity for you at TS Middle School. And then you would, you would click 9 for yes. And then you would go in the morning and then you would, it's 7 o'clock. You're standing there with your chinos and your briefcase and you're hoping that the teacher left you some lesson plans. And if they didn't, you're like, all right, kids, we're going to watch movies all day.
We're going to roll the cart in, the TV on the strap to the cart.
And then I would go to the teacher next door and say like, hey, what should I do? What are you guys working on? Can I get some materials over here? Can I get some help? And then I would go out and get on the swings and the jungle. You're so cool, Mr. Redmond. You play with us every day. I'm like, yeah, man. So, but I just was like, so it was like I was raining on Haagen-Dazs at night and just kind of like staring at my shoes, slumped shoulders. Like, what's wrong with me? I'm overeducated. I've got all this experience. Why isn't anybody giving me a chance? So that was kind of tough. The first, but then I started, turned the page a little bit and 99, I got my first job with Pam Tillis, Mel Tillis's daughter, and that was great. It was the first time I was getting a check every 2 weeks, and somebody was setting up my drums, and somebody had the Evian water cold twisted
made it,
off.
baby.
Yeah. It was I was like, this is it. But then immediately after that, I was in a band called Rushlow with Kurt and Tully and Tim Rushlow. And we were schlepping and going to every radio station in the country and playing free shows for them and begging them to play our single. And I was setting up and tearing my own, setting up, tearing down every day. It was such a grind, man. So that's a lesson in the fact that the music business is not like, it's just like, it's like a camel hump, man. It's up and down. And
so, in your opinion, what separates the talented people who make it from those that don't? Is it relationships, likability, or is it just luck and timing?
Yes.
I
think if you put all those together, you have a deep skill set. You're a likable, affable person. You can take direction. You're flexible. You're fun to be around, and you work hard, and you keep showing up, and you don't take no for an answer. There's persistence, there's determination. All those things, you put those things together collectively. Yeah, you don't know when it's going to happen, but most likely you got a better chance of it happening than the person that's just incredibly talented, that doesn't have friends or relationships, that doesn't get out of the house, that's a negative Nelly. Yeah. You know what I mean?
So I had a story of my wife used to work with, this was years and years ago, Doc McGhee.
Oh, yeah, the rock and roll manager.
Yeah. So for people that don't know, he managed Kiss and Motley Crue.
But then Darius Rucker.
Yeah. So when she was working with him, she was helping with Darius, and every year they do a Hootie reunion tour in South Carolina.
Nice.
And so he got the whole, everybody that worked in the office, they got a bus together so we could all go and spouses and all that.
Nice.
So this was probably 1 o'clock in the morning on the way back. I saw Doc sitting at the front of the bus, and I was like, here's my opportunity. I'm all about learning from people, getting advice from people. I'm just a sponge. I always want to just ask. So Mr. Doc, you mind if I talk with you for a minute? He's like, yeah, come on up here. And so I said, any advice that you can give me, on growing my business and kind of getting to the next level. Are there any words of wisdom you can give me? And I will never forget, he looked at me and said, kid, I just put my money behind the right horse. And then I did it again and again.
Nice.
So how much of the music industry comes down to just betting on the right horse?
Ooh, wow. When was that, Nick?
Oh, God, that would have been 2010, 08, 09, 10, somewhere around that time frame.
Yeah. Well, you have to follow your gut instinct, and our intuition is a gift from God, right? Trusting your gut. And it can be a numbers game in the music business, especially as what they call me as a side man. You know what I mean? And when a side man is basically a person that like shows up with a deep skill set, never mails it in, sweats their brains out, brings the show to it, and tries to lift up the performer that they're working with and for. Yeah. So that is my role in life. And so, obviously when I met a young Jason Aldean and he wrapped this band around him, we all liked each other personally and professionally. It was just such a nice mix. It was such a lot of cohesion there. It just felt good. And I knew something was going to happen. But in the meantime, as he was developing, I had bills to pay. I can't imagine what my bills were then. A bunch of guys living in a house, and I think all of our bills together collectively for the entire month was like $500. And, now I spend $500 before breakfast. You
spent $500 on these damn coffees.
The funny thing is, I had a gift card. I was like, I got to go use these gift cards, man. The funny thing about gift cards, a lot of these companies win because they count on you forgetting about them. Which makes me really nervous when I give them, like, don't forget about this. Put this on your nightstand, right? So you get up in the morning and go, yes, go use that $50 card from Starbucks. But anyways, as that artist is developing, baby needs shoes, so I got to go out and work. So I'm playing Lower Broadway. I'm going all doing USO tours and, going to, I used to play with this kid named Rick Orozco, and he was set to be the next kind of like Rick Trevino. They wanted to make him like a bilingual, which I cannot believe that hasn't been done still almost 30 years later. We need a bilingual country artist, man. It just
Somebody
seems
get
like
on
it's just
that.
the lowest hanging fruit, you know? But anyways, he was primed to do that thing. And while he was developing his career, Judy Seal would send us over to South Korea and Japan and Dubai and Cairo and Sarajevo, all these places in the Middle East and Southeast Asia, and we would go entertain the troops. And I was like, and I'd come back with a little bit of money in my pocket. I was well fed. It was an amazing experience. So I was just doing anything I possibly can with a million different artists. Matter of fact, in 1999, while I was showcasing Aldean, trying to get him a record deal, playing on demos for him, doing all those things, I was playing with 28 other bands.
Oh, wow.
And the reason I know that I was supposed to do this is because scheduling is such a crazy thing in this industry. In 1999, playing in 29 bands, I never had one scheduling problem. I was able to maintain the relationships and work with 29 other bands because they knew that Rich has got a deep skill set. He's a fun guy. He shows up early. He's got a smile on his face. He does what he can, take direction without being offended. And I like having this guy. So that was 29 bands that I was kind of rolling the dice on. And there's practically, out of the 29 acts, let's see, Big Kenny was one of the acts before he was on Hollywood Records.
Yep.
It was like a pop record. We played the Troubadour in Los Angeles. So fun. While I'm working with Aldean. So this was before he met John Rich. Meanwhile, at that time, John Rich is writing all sorts of songs that are feeding Aldean's early career. Why? Amarillo Sky, Johnny Cash, all the songs.
He had a bunch of smashes that nobody really knows about.
Right. So how many people out of the 29 are still alive and or successful in the business now? I think probably 2 to 4 people out of the 29.
So you just threw your net out, worked your ass off, and one of these is going to hit.
Is it attrition the right word? It's like these people fall off.
Yeah.
A lot of things happen. Yeah. Even if you start working at the highest level, something always happens. The lead singer girl, she decides to have a baby and she's out of the music business, or the label closes, or your team at the label, there's a changing of the guard. So no one at the label is now championing you. Yep. That happens 90% of the time. So it's such a thing where everything has to come together and coalesce at a perfect in synchronicity for it all to work. So luck and
timing is a huge factor.
Oh my God. And it's a youth oriented business. It's like when I was graduating with my master's degree in the Dallas, Texas area, my teacher, Ed Sof, he's 80 years old now. He's fantastic, just, highly revered jazz musician, educator. He's like, Redmond's still here? He's 27. He's got to get out of here. It's because people were moving to New York and LA, and I was the one crazy guy that went to Nashville. It worked out, man. It just worked out. And my drumming, the way I hear drums, the way I hear music, this has been a great town for me because you got to play the song.
Yeah.
No one cares about anything other than the song. But nowadays, more than and big part of the thing is also the imaging, because it's just such a, people see with their eyes. People see, they hear with their eyes. That's what I'm trying to say. Yep. So,
well, that kind of goes directly into the question I was going to ask next. With your longevity, with all these different people and all the years you've been in it and all that. So you've sat behind the drum kit for over 20 years with the same artist in an industry where bands and relationships often fall apart. So what was your, I won't say what's your secret, but like, what's that reasoning for staying relevant, trusted, and valuable for 2 decades with the same act?
I can't take the credit. I mean, I know what I bring to the table, but it's my boss and his team and their culture and the loyalty and the fact that you have that same band and a lot of the same crew guys from 27 years ago. 27 years ago, the same people. So that's his way of looking at the world and how he values people and is loyal. And loyalty.
I've heard many stories about his loyalty.
But I mean, loyalty in the music business, what? That's unheard of. But but nowadays, anywhere, it's like in corporate America, you used to be able to stay for 40 years. You get to watch in the goodbye package, and you got a nice pension, and that's not happening.
That's not part of the world anymore.
We're just expendable fodder, lemmings following each other off the cliff. So I feel incredibly fortunate, very, very fortunate. And every time I get behind a set of drums to play a show, from that first note that I play, actually just starting with my mindset and what I do with my day as soon as I jump out of bed, I'm trying to treat myself like an athlete and hydrating and stretching and moving my body and getting vitamin D and supplementing and watching what I put into my body, and then never mailing it in. I'm showing up. To be early is to be on time.
Well, like after all these years of doing massive shows and all, do you still get that high?
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
It
never goes away.
My life is waiting for the next time I get to be behind the drums.
Yeah.
Because that is my purpose. That's my passion. And I know that it's a win-win situation because I'm loving life. It's changing my life. I'm in my purpose. And because of that, I'm bringing everybody else's dreams and visions to life. As a session drummer, I'm bringing people's stories to life, man. They're trusting me with that. That's a huge responsibility. And then you got 26,000 people out there in an amphitheater, and they're all sweating and stinking and drinking and partying, and I'm the anchor, man. I'm the cake. You gotta build the foundation of a house, man, and so I just try to anchor that thing and just be an entertainer, offer a high level of musicianship, and I think more than anything, consistency.
Yeah,
people want to know that Redmond's on the drums. It's going to be a good show.
We don't have to worry about it.
We can rely on him. And then they could deal with because you never know what people are going through. We can have our whole world collapsing. We could have loved ones with health problems. There's all sorts of things going on at home, but we can't take that on stage.
Yeah.
And so I try to provide that healing feeling, and that people can just lean on me and just be really, really comfortable,
Which, I mean, your band in particular has dealt with some crazy stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, were you there in Vegas?
Oh, I was there. I was the last guy on stage. And,
you're at so people understand the shooting in Vegas happened during Aldean's set.
I mean, it was a tragic, tragic time in human history. I mean, with 58 people dead, I think there's 546 people that were, lives have been massively altered with their injuries. And so we'd go back and play shows in Vegas and stuff but no, I just saw my band went one direction, and I ended up going with my drum tech, Johnny, who just celebrated 35 years on the planet. I met him when he was 19 years old.
That's awesome.
And he was looking out for me. He's like, Rich, stick with me. And he got me to safety. He was like, follow me, because he's...
Again, nobody knew where it was coming from.
God,
where are you going to go?
Just kind of pandemonium and chaos, but...
Has that affected you playing shows from there on?
Well, we went right back to work 4 or 5 days later. We're on Saturday Night Live, and then we decided we're not going to let this crazy person dictate
so now it's
what
not
we
something
do.
that you even worry about when you go up on stage.
Try not to think about it. I mean, you're trying to think about that. I try not to think about the 20 tons of lighting and
pray
audio
someone
gear
did their job correctly.
that's hanging over my head. And I see these people come in the morning, they look like they've just been up all night and they're climbing the rafters to go hang the stuff over my head. But the main
trusting
thing,
these carnies to get
but the thing is we've got a dude that is, worked for McCartney and the Stones and everybody in the business.
Yeah.
And his has the most important job of all the geometry, algebra, trig, whatever goes into weight distribution and hanging things. Like he's the best in the business. So you just kind of got to like wash your hands of all that and just kind of stay in your lane and focus on what is my immediate job. My immediate job is to follow that flashlight, get up on that stage, have a huge smile on my face, count that song off, and then just song by song, taking each song as its own little Mona Lisa. I'm putting my stamp on this. I'm putting my stamp on this. And every night you try to play flawlessly while still having fun. Yeah. And I think that's the
cool thing as a drummer, even if you're not flawless, we don't know.
What a fun instrument.
We don't know.
Well, you know if it's out of time because if you want to, you're going to try to go see a disco band, right? And they're playing the Hustle and you're just, you're just like, I want to get my Carlton on, right? And if it's too fast, no, dude, no, slow it down. Gloria Gaynor's "I Will Survive." First up, it's got to be right there. So it's a big responsibility, and we got to hold that thing down for 3.5 minutes. Yeah. So there's a lot going on in my mind mentally, and there's a high level of communication that's going on between all the individuals. It's very nonverbal too.
That us on the outside don't see what's happening.
All the baseball signs, Aldean's looking at me. He's like, or he'll get on the talkback mic. Don't let me talk before this one. Go right into it. Boom. So he's feeling the night, and he'll tell me about the pacing of the show, and I'll have to adjust that things. And I've got looking at the guys, make sure that they've got their guitars in their hands because we play 24 songs and there's 24 guitar changes. Wow. So boom, guy finishes the song, Kurt finishes the song, hands it to the guy, the other guy. And he hands them, and as soon as I see the whites of their eyes, boom, I count that song off. Because
are you kind of the quarterback? Like it starts with
drummer's the quarterback.
Yeah,
that's right.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm Tom Brady.
I got it. Yeah, I got it.
I'm Tom Brady.
Well, man, so we said this at the top of the show. You're a drummer. That's one of your many things you do.
That's what I do when I get up in the morning. I mean, it's like it's even more specific. It's like I could play a lot of different kinds of music, but when I wake up in the morning, I'm a rock drummer, man. Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm just.
But you also do some motivational speaking. Yeah. So tell us about that and your Crash Course for Success. Yeah, program. Well, we've talked. I looked that up the other day. I was like, this is fantastic.
Oh, dude, thank you. Well, Crash is an acronym. Talked about it a million times on New Media here, but we've been talking just about a lot of those concepts of having a deep commitment, not necessarily putting a time limit on things, just committing to your craft and your goals and your visions and not stopping, and cultivating lifelong sincere relationships, having a really great attitude because people want to be around enthusiastic, positive people, and having a deep skill set, getting those 10,000 hours, and then trying to stay up with the Joneses and not becoming the fat Elvis. You want to keep moving your skill set forward.
I can tell he is wired hot.
You do that thing, man, and then hunger.
He is wired hot, man. I can tell.
This is my fourth cup of go-go juice. And then just having that hunger, to be successful that burns in your belly, So you put those things all together, and hopefully it's a recipe for being non-stoppable in life. And I don't know how long have I been speaking? Probably pushing 20 years. And, and I do young presidents organizations. I do high schools, middle schools. I do, all the schools of rocks and Bach to rocks, colleges, Fortune 100 companies, like Cisco and Microsoft.
So just throw that in on top of the 29 bands stuff. And
but it's funny because it's really, when I speak, it's like not your dad's motivational speak. There's no PowerPoint. There's no headset mic. There's no podium. It's literally like a rant comedian that's just drilling a hole in the front of the stage, pacing back and forth, sweating, talking with my hands because I'm a half Italian. And then I get to play the drums too. And then I get people to come up and play the drums. So it's nonstop. So that 60 minutes goes by and they're like, what just happened to me? This guy walks the walk. He wears his passion and his purpose on his sleeve. And hopefully, motivation doesn't last. You need a program, you need follow through, you need actionable stuff.
Anybody can be motivated for a short term.
I love just being the 1 hour guy.
Yeah.
I come in, I hit it and I quit it. I leave with something, I drop the mic. And it's kind of like a one-man show. I tell people it's like, Jerry Lewis having lunch with Animal from the Muppets and Tony Robbins. You know what I mean? So you get really fun stuff delivered in a kind of crazy anime character, zany way. And then there's drums. drums, and people love the drums. So yeah,
Well, man,
great.
you talk like it's very off the hip. Like you said you don't do PowerPoints, you don't do all that. But man, I watched one of your videos where you talked about your show prep. You learn everything about who you're talking to. Like you prep before the show. You don't just go in there and wing it. So, I mean, after all these years of doing all this, you don't just go in there and wing it. You've put the time in and learned who you're talking to and about their organization.
Yes.
All their stuff.
Yeah. So the cool thing about Crash is that you get these 5 pillars, right? And if you spend about 10 minutes on each pillar and your presentation is 60 minutes, that leaves me time to run out to my intro video, which is 2 minutes long. Then I do some basic housekeeping like, how you doing, folks? Funny story about what just happened. So a little comedy, break the ice, and then spend about 10, and then at the end, throw out a little bit of drumsticks. Then I get the CEO or the CFO or one of the O's up from the organization, and I give them a drum lesson. I kind of roast them, which kind of like humanizes the CEO. And it's just a giant love fest for it, and it's just all kind of timed out. And then within that structure, I can weave in the cultural philosophies, bullet points, goals of that organization. And so in prep, I might have a 30-minute meeting with the highest person I can get at the company. And they're like, Rich, what's one of the last things I did? I spoke to it was an ice cube convention. People that make ice cubes, right?
Okay.
These people have conventions for everything, right? I'm like, and the most interesting guy was like, yeah, man, I do like dry ice and kind of things for like, Hollywood films and stuff. I was like, oh, now if I was going to do ice, I would do dry
something
ice.
You wouldn't think of.
You know what I mean? But so I asked him, what are you trying to get across here? And what's the, goal of the meeting? And I'll weave that stuff in, and then it's just fun.
Yeah. Well, man, kind of a deep question here. Do you think success creates happiness or happiness creates success?
Oh, man, that's a great one. I think that could be.
Because I struggle with that. I will. It's hard I'm a results-oriented person.
Sure.
So it's kind of hard not letting the factor of success or lack of success affect your outlook. Like I have to work on that every day. Being a result-oriented person, if I don't see the results, it feels like a waste.
Yeah. That's heavy, man. This is a thing, what is happiness?
Yeah, there you go.
Actually, this is a funniest thing, but I was inducted into the Happiness Hall of Fame at Stanford University in 2018.
Okay.
So some of the other people that are in the Happiness Hall of Fame are like Dolly Parton, Muhammad Ali. And so how did I get in there? Well, I know the guy, the president of the organization that created the organization. So he goes, Rich, we are giving you an induction at Stanford University. This is major, man. So to prepare for this, I wanted to have a very specific speech called "What is Happiness?" And it was I kind of used like 5 things that would lead into our happiness. But what makes us happy? Well, finding our purpose and living in our purpose. And so my purpose in life is to affect people in a positive way and change lives. One sentence. That's the umbrella over my entire existence. All of my whys factor into I want to affect people in a positive way and change lives. And I can do that through making music. I could do that through speaking and teaching, and then maybe writing books.
So you want to come to the same outcome. You've just got different ways of getting there.
And it's about affecting people in a positive way because there's so much negativity in the world, and this. I'm much happier when I don't watch the news. You know what I mean? And I've been watching news in recent years, but I try to limit it. And our good friend Jim McCarthy always says, you got to marinate your mind in positive things. You know what I mean? And I could see someone taking your mind and
which is so hard to do in this
day and age. So you got to follow the right Instagram pages. You got to read the right books. You got to listen to the right podcasts. You got to hang around with the right people around your life. Birds of a feather flock together. And so what is happiness? I mean, happiness to me is like, having your health, having loved ones in your life, watching a sunset, smoking a cigar, having that glass of California Pinot Noir, going to lunch with Jim, vacuuming. I like vacuuming.
I like vacuuming.
Yeah, I like sweating. Like a great sweat. You know what I mean? Like people say, like, hey, how do you make yourself feel better instantly? Go for a 10-minute walk. Yep. Go for you'll instantly feel better.
What did they say? Idle hands are the devil's playground.
Oh yeah, that's why I have always kind of kept busy on the road, because I've seen the downfall of so many musicians, where it's like, what time is the show tonight? 11 p.m. What time is it now? 9 a.m. What am I gonna do? And that's where the bottle comes out and all that stuff. And so
what's kind of a typical day look like when you guys go on tour to kind of, again, I'm sure there's stuff that goes on and guys are going to be guys and all that, but like that group seems to have a good formula of keeping their nose clean. It's
a well-oiled machine. And this goes for most of the people are are in this genre, operating at that level, and it's so efficient because Nashville is kind of central in the United States. So the way we do our country genre touring is they call it weekend warrior style. And that's why so many aging rockers are moving to Nashville, because they can base out of Nashville and the routing around the country is so efficient. So we might leave on a Wednesday night at 10 p.m., wake up in Atlanta, Georgia, play the show, 2 a.m, get on the bus, go to the Carolinas, and then the next day go to Florida or something. And then on Sunday morning, I wake up in a parking lot in Nashville. So I've been to 4 states in 5 days and rocked 60,000 people, felt great about myself, affected people in a positive way, cashed a check, had a great time.
Yeah.
Had 3 catered meals.
So do you get more nervous playing in front of 50,000 people or speaking in front of 200?
Speaking in front of 200.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I figured you'd say that.
Yeah. I mean, 50,000 people it's just like one insane living, breathing organism. And so what I do is I pick out key points at certain parts of the stadium, and it's an old entertainer's trick. So everybody in those areas are thinking, oh, he's looking at me. Mm-hmm. He's sending that thing out to me, and I was like, yeah, I am. That whole row right there feels like they're super special. Yeah. You know what I mean? And they're all incredibly special. But it's just this one thing, and I love the roar of the crowd. I mean, there's nothing like taking the stage, and it's like, I know it's not for me personally, but I'm part of this organism. And people are like, I'm like, you paid what for tickets? Well, those $1,000. What? Okay. You know what I mean? So, but the energy, those people are really the true believers. The people you really have to convince sometimes are the nosebleeders who got like free radio tickets, or the girlfriend drags the boyfriend. Come see this guy. I love this guy. Okay. And I got to make that guy a believer. Right, so that's my job, But I don't really get nervous at all doing much of anything anymore, other than it's just a little bit of if you don't have a little bit of this performance anxiety, just a little bit of an excitement, then, you've lost that fire, because, we have a responsibility, but I'm just a ham, man. That's why I thought kind of like motivational speaking, or I MC corporate events. It's like, give me the mic. Give me the mic.
You're great at it,
just
man.
Give me the
just
mic.
Just a very likable guy.
Get off there, man. If somebody's up there and they're just like, and they're reading, they're like, the 615 podcast is, you know what I mean? It's like, dude, Bueller, get off of there. Yeah. We need some energy. Yeah. So
I can tell you're so full of energy. You love life. It's like I had, 30 questions here oh my God, if this goes into a lull. And then the first, you start talking, I'm like, shit, this ain't going to a lull.
This isn't easy. when the guest takes the reins, it is so fun.
Oh, so much more fun
to witness. Have you had some of those guests that are just like, you're just like a dentist?
Very few. So put it this way, we've had 55 episodes. Most everybody is friends of mine. So it's just a conversation with your friends.
Yeah.
And we've had a couple that were not friends of mine that, we just started getting on the show, and it felt different at first. And now I feel like it's a lot easier to just pull stuff out of people pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. Because, the first 35 shows, it was just my buddies. Yeah. We're just talking to my friends.
You get your chops on those, and then now you're just flying, man.
So you just sit here and just talk. Yeah. That's all it is. So I always ask every single guest this question. What do you love most about living in Middle Tennessee?
Oh my God, I love the humidity and the bugs.
The traffic is great.
You know, traffic doesn't bother me because, you know, I lived part-time in Los Angeles for 5 years. And if you can deal
So
with
this
that,
is nothing.
oh, dude, you're constantly looking on your phone. You're like, how long is it going to take me to go 10 miles? Oh, an hour and 45 minutes. And you just plan your whole day. And that's why everybody has tricked out cars there, because they live in their cars.
Yeah.
You know, but the traffic doesn't bother me. I like how, you know, it's pretty easy to get anywhere. You know, in LA, it was just like just a 30 million people in one giant suburb. Here, you know, I used to live over at the Nippers Corner area, and I could just get anywhere in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And of course, now I'm in Spring Hill, so could be up to an hour getting somewhere, you know, so that's new, that's different. But, no, I just like the people, you know, the Southern culture is very welcoming, and, people are friendly here. Yeah, it's been good to me. Middle Tennessee is...
That really seems to be the ongoing answer.
I mean, I have like East Coast energy. My favorite lifestyle is probably the West Coast lifestyle. But I love the people here, and I love the fact that there is the last place for the music businesses here. And I have nearly 30 years of relationships here. Yeah. So I can't see anything bad about Middle Tennessee. Tennessee.
Good.
Yeah.
Again, always comes down to relationships. That seems to be the answer to just about every question. You know, success, making it here, loving where you live, it all comes down to relationships.
Yeah, I love the fact that I just live up a mile and a half up the road, and I'm next to 4 grocery stores, the fire station, 10 urgent cares, 12 Mexican restaurants. My gym is 0.2 miles away. There's no excuse. The community pool is less than 0.1 miles away. I live on this cute little cul-de-sac with 30 houses, and everyone's got manicured lawns, and they're out there grilling, and the kids are playing, and the birds are chirping. And this is just a nice chapter of my life to embrace the suburban lifestyle.
Well, brother, you seem to just have a positive outlook on life. I think you'd be happy anywhere.
You know what?
Really do.
You are so right, and I appreciate you saying that, because when I was trying to do different things in my life, not different things in my life, but additional things in my life. Let's face it, I'm a drummer.
Because you needed more.
I'm a drummer,
more to do.
But I wanted to hey, I'm going to go study acting for 5 years. I slept on floors. I rented the cheapest of cars. I'm not afraid, even after whatever level of success you see me having. I'm not afraid to just keep it real, man. Schlep my own drums in a club, crash on a couch. If it's a means to an end, I just embrace the fact that one night you might be at the Four Seasons and one night you might be at the Hampton Inn. Usually you're at the Four Seasons for 1 hour because you only have time to go in there, take a quick shower, and meet back in the lobby.
Yeah.
But then you're at the Hampton Inn for 3 days, and it's a snowstorm, and you're trapped there. And that's just the way the music business works,
that's the way
man.
it is.
One day is...
You either live for it or you don't.
Yeah, one day is beautiful Wagyu beef and beautiful martinis, lobster, and the next day is Rotel. and it's totally cool because the Rotel days make you appreciate the steak and lobster days.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, brother, man, I appreciate you coming in here. I know you got a crazy busy schedule, so definitely appreciate you coming in and speaking with us.
Oh, man.
I'm pulling for you, brother, man.
I'm pulling for you. This is a great thing. And that just flew by. Was that an hour?
Give or take. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
God, I'm just running my jaws, man.
Love it, brother. We'll have you back on sometime. We'd kill some more time with him.
Anytime. I live a mile away, man. So I could be one of those like the Whack Pack or something, from who is it? Howard Stern. I can come in with the chicken, whack and a splash cymbal.
That'd be perfect.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks, man.
But
All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. See you next week.